For years, you've probably heard two completely different things about coffee and your heart. Your doctor may have told you to watch your caffeine. Your grandmother drank 3 cups a day well into her 80s and never gave it a second thought. Maybe you've cut back yourself, just to be safe, even though you missed it. So which is it? Is your morning coffee something to feel guilty about, or something you've been worrying over for no good reason? Here's the honest answer. For a long time, even researchers weren't sure. A lot of the early studies linking coffee to heart problems didn't account for something important. Heavy coffee drinkers, decades ago, were also more likely to smoke. So the studies were picking up the effects of cigarettes, not coffee. And coffee got blamed by association. It took years of better-designed research and a lot more data to sort that out properly. So what does the current evidence actually show? In 2026, the American Heart Association released an updated scientific statement after reviewing the full body of research on coffee and cardiovascular health. Their conclusion: for most adults, drinking up to 5 8-ounce cups of caffeinated coffee a day, that's about 400 milligrams of caffeine, is not just safe, it's associated with a lower risk of heart disease, stroke, heart failure, and some irregular heart rhythms. That's a meaningful shift from the old, cautious advice a lot of us grew up hearing. Part of the reason may come down to what's actually in your cup. Coffee is rich in natural compounds called chlorogenic acids, which act as antioxidants in your body. Researchers think these compounds may help protect the lining of your blood vessels and reduce the kind of low-grade inflammation that contributes to heart disease over time. Coffee also contains smaller amounts of magnesium and potassium, both of which play a role in healthy blood pressure regulation. So it's not caffeine doing all the work here, it's the whole cup, caffeine and all, that raises a natural question. What about decaf? The research on this is genuinely reassuring. Decaffeinated coffee appears to offer similar protective associations for overall cardiovascular disease risk, since it still contains those antioxidant compounds. Where it seems to differ is with heart rhythm specifically. The research on caffeinated coffee's protective link to arrhythmia risk doesn't hold the same way for decaf. In other words, if caffeine itself doesn't agree with you, decaf isn't a downgrade. It's simply a different profile of benefits, and still a reasonable choice. Now here's a detail that surprised even some researchers. A study published in the European Heart Journal in early 2025 found that when you drink your coffee may matter as much as how much you drink. People who drank coffee mainly in the morning had a lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease and a lower overall mortality risk compared to people who sipped coffee steadily throughout the day. Researchers aren't entirely sure why yet, but one leading idea is that all-day caffeine intake may interfere with your body's natural sleep and hormone rhythms in a way that a morning routine doesn't. Your body seems to prefer a defined start and stop, not a slow drip from breakfast to dinner. So if you're already a morning coffee person, someone who has your cup or two with breakfast and then switches to water or tea for the rest of the day, the research suggests you may already be doing this exactly right. There is a catch, and it's not really about the coffee itself. The American Heart Association was specific about this. These benefits are tied to coffee without a lot of added sugar, flavored syrups, or cream. A daily specialty drink loaded with sugar isn't really coffee from a research standpoint anymore. It's a dessert that happens to have caffeine in it. If you want your coffee habit to work in your favor, black coffee, or coffee with a modest splash of milk, is where the evidence actually points. The preparation method matters too. Paper-filtered coffee, which is most drip coffee, filters out compounds that can raise LDL cholesterol, while unfiltered methods like French press or boiled coffee let more of those compounds through. If cholesterol is something you keep an eye on, filtered coffee is the safer bet. So here's the practical version of all this. If you already enjoy coffee, there's no strong reason to feel guilty about it. Up to about 5 cups a day, taken earlier in the day rather than spread into the evening, brewed with a paper filter, and kept simple without a lot of added sugar, appears to fit well within what current research supports for most people over 60. That said, this isn't a blanket green light for everyone. If you have a history of heart arrhythmia, uncontrolled high blood pressure, or you already know caffeine makes you feel anxious or your heart race uncomfortably, this is genuinely worth a conversation with your doctor, because your situation may be different from the general research pool. This video isn't a substitute for that conversation. It's a starting point for having it. For decades, coffee has been treated like something to apologize for. The research doesn't really support that anymore. For most people, it's not the villain it was made out to be. It might just be one of the easiest, most enjoyable habits you already have that's actually working in your favor. If this cleared something up for you, I'd love to hear it. And if there's a health habit you've always wondered about, drop it in the comments below. That might be exactly what we look into next.